presentation out when we're doing the apologies. Okay, welcome everybody. This Scrutiny Committee meeting is being conducted on a hybrid basis in accordance with Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021, which will operate alongside the Council Standing Orders. Council Standing Orders and Code of Conduct apply at all times during a virtual and hybrid meeting in the same way as ordinary meetings, and members should conduct themselves accordingly. The meeting is being live streamed to the public. Please, excuse me, can I ask those attending to keep your cameras on but mute your microphones when you're not speaking to ensure there's no unnecessary background noise. Can I also remind members to use the raise the hand facility to indicate to me when they wish to speak on a particular item. Please do not speak until I invite you to do so, and remember to unmute your microphone. A recorded version of this meeting will be uploaded for public viewing as soon as possible after the meeting. Welsh translation of the proceedings can be provided upon request. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the council. Thank you. Okay, first on the item on the agenda is apologies for absence.
On the apology, chairs for Councillor Mockford.
Councillor Mockford, any other apologies from any of the members? Fantastic. Okay, second on the agenda, any declarations of interest from any members? Fantastic. Item 3 on the agenda is the Customer Contact Improvement Project update, pages 3 to 8 of your report. The committee should have also received a couple of presentations, which the latest of which was updated on Friday, and circulated. So, without further ado, then we've got a presentation from officers. We'll invite the cabinet member to speak first, if you want to, or whether you just want officers to go in and then you'll mix up in questions. Entirely up to you.
The latter, Chair. No one wants to hear politicians speak.
Fantastic, no problem. Reece, do you want to say anything or pass over to officers?
Yeah, as well as I'll just do a brief intro. Thanks to Peter Allen for coming along this afternoon and doing the presentation, and they've been driving this project forward. I think it'd be interesting to have committee's feedback today and a conversation about some of the things that we need to be doing. First of all, because I think the original scope of this project has expanded quite a lot, and I think that will come to life as we go through it. And I'd probably, I suppose, put into context, because we really focus on some of the negative things as well. But customer contact team deals with about 500,000 service requests, student course figure, and the vast majority of those things, they go pretty smoothly. And actually what we're trying to do is get as good as we possibly can around the rest of things, whilst trying to embrace new technologies that they come along, which are, the pace of change is quite significant at the moment, and I think you'll pick that up as we go through the presentation as well.
Fantastic. Okay.
Thank you. So good afternoon all, and thank you for inviting us to present to you today. I know for those of you on the screen, but my name is Paige Gray, and I'm presenting today with Rhiannon Powell. So we've both been working on the Customer Improvement Project now since January, and we've previously both managed teams within customer services, where we've seen firsthand the challenges around customer contact, and also the opportunity for us as a council in making the improvements to customer contact going forward. Just a bit of an overview in terms of what we'll be covering today. The presentation will be split into 2 sections. Firstly, I'll take you through the project recap and talk to you about the objectives of the project and the resource allocated, and talk to you about our project timeline, and then lastly I'll talk about the members contact work stream that we've got going on as sort of a side stream to this project. I'll then hand over to Rhiannon, who will talk you through what's been achieved so far, and some challenges we've encountered whilst working on the project, our future priorities, and then at the end we'll give you an opportunity to ask us any questions that you've got regarding the project. Thank you. So just to recap on, I suppose, while we're here, an external review was conducted by a company called Basis. they came in to review customer contact across all areas of the council, looking at telephone contact, emails, face-to-face services, social media and the website, and lastly, members' inquiries. Following their time spent reviewing areas of the council, they then formulated a report on customer contact and gave us a list of key issues that came up during that review, and also like some top priorities for us as a council to work on moving forward. That time wasn't just spent with customer services, that was spent in other departments across the council, and they did things such as listening to calls, shadowing inboxes, and also looking at the online traffic that we've got coming in, looking at things like our web pages and seeing how user-friendly they are for customers as well. So firstly, in the list of key issues identified was long wait times. And so again, this isn't strictly just calls and contact centre traffic. This was across a number of channels, so also looking at those self-service forms and SRTs coming into the council. Sorry, so the transaction request. So yeah, so so that's just like online traffic, such as calls, reports, and come into us. They also found a lack of council-wide standards and limited authority for customer services. So what we mean by that is customer services does act as kind of that front door to different service areas, but in customer services we didn't have the authority to sort of challenge that further into back office functions. So to address this, we know that we need now a council-wide strategy and our customer service charter, which we'll come on to later in the presentation, just to kind of set those clear expectations across the council about, you know, what customer service looks like. In essence, and I think something that's really important to us, is that customer services shouldn't be seen as a department. It should be an attitude that we embrace across all areas of the council. So it's not just unique to, you know, the contact centre and that first step in the customer journey. Secondly, inconsistent oh, sorry, I think I missed one. No, I haven't. Inconsistent communication and updates. So we found, basis found from their time with departments that the service levels differed from department to department, and customers weren't always informed on the updates on those service requests going through to back offices. Another major theme then was the over-reliance on generic inboxes. So, for example, across the council, we've got a number of generic inboxes that go into service areas. And it was found from looking at those that not everything was captured in those inboxes. And it also created a lot of back and forth with customers because they were getting sort of very generic, basic inquiries through and not necessarily getting the information they needed. Then we've got website and self-service forms. So appreciate there's obviously an ongoing project regarding the website. However, BASIS did find that there requires a significant amount of improvement in that area, along with the online forms. And so just to highlight some of the key things in relation to that, for example, they picked up on there being too much text on some web pages, too much technical terms, too much jargon. And so just looking about how we can use the website as an area for customers to self-serve, and the last thing we want is for that to kind of be a barrier. Lastly, imposition data. We found that BASIS found from their time with departments that there was a lack of performance management data across the council. In the contact centre, we report on incoming calls, we report daily on the interactions that we're dealing with. However, from having those generic inboxes, like I mentioned earlier on, there's actually a lot of customer contact that we're not capturing, and we need that data to drive through and continuously improve our services. So these findings then gave us a clear picture of where change is needed and formed the foundations of this project. So first and foremost, we want to obviously enhance the customer experience. The customer experience is key, and every interaction, whether it's a quick question or a complex issue, it should hopefully leave a really positive impact on that customer, and we want it to have a lasting impression. For that, we need to introduce standardised contact processes. So again, going back to that customer contact charter, the experience you have with planning, we want that to look fairly similar for customer contact school admissions. So as much as we possibly can, we want to standardise contacts so it's consistent, clear and timely across all areas of the authority. Another key aim then is to boost efficiency, accountability and trust in council services. So the relationship we build with residents is vital to the council's reputation. So we know at times that potentially our decisions and our responses maybe don't match what customers' expectations are. However, we need to communicate that in a clear and honest way to build that trust with residents, and so they understand how our services operate. And finally, we want to enable continuous improvement. So as technology evolves, really she touched on that at the start. So must we as an authority. So our goal isn't just to react to change at the moment. We want to use data to try and kind of predict service demands and also to keep up to date with our customer preferences. So to deliver on these objectives, £320,000 was allocated to the project. That included funding for full-time posts. So as well as myself and Rhiannon, we've also got 2 project officers that work on the digital side of the project. So we call them the MCS team, which stands for My Council Services. So they deal with the system development, the online forms, automation and the technologies. Thank you. So moving on to the timeline, the project originally began in January and was scheduled to run for 18 months. So we were due to conclude in July 2026. So the project would have been 18 months. We are proposing an extension of the project until February 2027. Originally was the project, social services and waste savers wasn't included in part of that. However, we are proposing including those 2 service areas. It also addresses some resource challenges that have impacted our service delivery since starting this project, which Rhiannon will touch on later when she talks through the challenges. A big driver for the extension as well has also been the amount of work that's come out of each area. So we've spent time with infrastructure, regeneration and economic development, and we're currently with environment and public protection. Environment and public protection, you'll probably all know, covers a wide range of different departments. For example, we've got waste and cleansing in that area, public protection, safety wardens, licensing, and more areas as well. So just to kind of touch on that, one of the main reasons for the extension, and particularly with that area, is just due to the high volume of customer contacts in that area. Waste and cleansing in particular, things such as lighting bins, collections, etc. We know they are consistently ranking in the top 3 interactions in terms of customer contact, and also online on our web services. So we know that that's vital now moving forward, and to ensure that each of those areas are reviewed to ensure that customer service is up to scratch. In addition to waste, sorry, just very sorry, thank you very much. In addition, just to highlight the waste as well, the reason we feel that we need the extension with this area in particular is that we know this is one service across the council that has some interactions with pretty much every member of the public. Quite often there are members of the public out there that don't contact the council unless maybe they need to book a tip slot or check a collection day. So we feel it's vitally important that that area is right, because we need to ensure that the reputation of the council is portrayed through that and that interaction. Thank you. So moving on to the members contact work stream. So this work stream runs in parallel to the customer contact review. So aligned with this project, the objectives are to review the level of service provided to members and to ensure a consistent and standardised approach to members contact. We want to ensure that procedures and key information is easily accessible to members to help them respond effectively to residents' inquiries. This work stream, sorry, is in the very initial stages at the moment, so the planning of that has been completed. And we've just been working on a cross-departmental working group to establish key members across the council that deal members contact, and also to involve people from those service areas. So again, there's areas such as waste and highways where we know we receive a frequent amount of contact. We have drafted a members and departmental survey, so to gather that feedback and insight into members' interactions. So we're hoping to circulate that and collect the responses in the coming months. Following those responses, we'll look to engage with members and shape them in those improvements and involve them in that process. And following on from that, then we hope to pilot a My Council Services database for members, where you'd be able to access information about your wards, and also with an FAQ document, so similar to what we've got in the contact centre, where you can easily access information about different services across the council. Providing, following that engagement and the pilot of My Council Services, we then look to roll out training across members to ensure that everyone's got that training to be able to access that information on demand whenever they need it. Thank you. I'm now going to hand you over to Rhiannon, who will take you through the second half of the presentation.
Thank you very much. So on this slide, I'm going to talk about our achievements. So we've developed smarter online forms. Currently, we've reviewed 45 online forms to make sure they're more meaningful. And out of those 45, we actually have over 300 online customer-facing forms, with an additional 400 forms that the service areas use as well. So that just shows you the magnitude of the job that we have with just this online form. So we've reviewed 45 of them to just enhance clarity. We've introduced 7 new forms to support customers to self-serve, including, for example, replacement school bus pass payments and private search payments. We've introduced enhanced features, including the nearby function. So, for example, if someone wanted to report fly tipping, they'd be able to log in, start the report process, and then actually see, well, someone has already reported this, so I don't need to take it any further. So it's preventing duplication and reducing the kind of workload of the officers to actually go out and collect fly tipping themselves. 82% of our requests going to back offices are via the customer portal and using self-serve options, which is quite a high figure. We've updated our automated emails, so we're making sure that our email responses that are triggered by status changes on My Council Services are more informative. So, for example, if someone wants to apply for a dropped curb, we would have a status change saying application received, and the email template would list, this is what you need to do, this is the cost, these are the sizes that we would allow. So rather than then having to contact the department direct, all of that information has been sent to them in literally the click of a button. We've created over 150 email templates so far in the service areas that we've been with to improve that communication and reduce that manual workload by those officers, freeing them up to do the jobs that they should be doing. Just to advise as well that currently on the My Council Services system, we have over 1,200 emails. So not only are we creating new ones, we're reviewing all of those as and when we go into each service area. We are also, an achievement is reviewing the generic inbox. We have over 605 generic email addresses within the council. 93 of those so far have been identified as completely inactive. We've closed 47 inboxes for streamline the operations, and we will be going and reviewing accounts as and when we go into these service areas. So the second part of the achievements, some of which do relate to the contact centre directly. So we've introduced a new telephony reporting system called Clobber. This reporting system enables the contact centre to track calls that have been made externally by different offices. So, for example, if you've received a missed call from the 656 telephone number, you'll ring back and you'll say, I received a missed call. The contact centre customer service officers will then be able to search this system using the caller's telephone number and identify the specific officer who made that call. So that's reducing the number of messages that get sent back to that service area. We now have a direct link with that officer, making it a quicker process to transfer that call through if they're able to take the call, obviously. The data that we will get from this system as well will also enable us to identify, or is another way of us identifying kind of high contacted service areas and teams, and also departments, and we can then target them for improvements, you know, how to improve their response times, that sort of thing. In May, the contact centre introduced a customer satisfaction survey. 4 questions, very simple questions. I can provide them to you if you need them to. But between May and September, they have had 483 surveys completed. The results of the surveys show that the issues resolved at first point of contact are 72%. The age and professionalism, the average score was 91%. And the overall satisfaction score of the contact centre was 4.2 out of 5, which we think is incredibly high and they should be proud of that. With this system, with the satisfaction survey system, we can tailor it as well. So we can change the questions, we can focus on different service areas for a certain period of time. So there's a lot of movement there. And finally, one of the biggest achievements, I think, is the feedback that we've had from the service areas that we've already spent time with. For example, one comment was that the total number of interactions has decreased, and the information that we're capturing at the first point of contact is significantly higher and more important, reducing, as Paige touched on before, that back and forth that we want to try and eradicate.
Sorry, Chair, can I just jump in on that, because I think that's really important, because I think in the original basis review, what we found was quite a lot of interactions with repeat callers. They would call failure. So what we're actually seeing at the moment is a reduction in overall calls because we're reducing the failure rate.
Yeah.
Thank you. So challenges, some of the significant ones that we've faced are the timeline and resourcing. So the resourcing pressures, we unfortunately have experienced a high level of staff absence within the project team, which has reduced the resilience, and we need to look at the resilience of the team. Because of that absence, we have a limited team capacity, and we're a small team anyway, 4 members doing the work. So the ability to absorb that additional work the absences has been really difficult. Also, the workload volume and complexity is not something that we anticipated. We have left a significant amount of outstanding work behind in the department areas. We've left recommendations. We would like to get that work done, but we haven't got the time to do it in with the project in its kind of current situation. But also, I think we didn't really understand until going into the service areas the complex needs, and at discovery point, the amount of work that we could achieve to help improve the customer journey. And delays the project timeline. Unfortunately, the timeline has been impacted by the resource, the complexity of the issues, and the number of things that we've identified that we could potentially assist with. Thank you. So some of the challenges that we have faced are digital and technical. We appreciate that there's a rapid change of pace with technology, AI, and it's having not only the project team to keep up with that, but councillors as a whole, as an organisation. How to scope work and system limitations. So The reviews have identified significant work beyond the original scope that we would like to do, but is not currently something that we're able to do. But we think that this investment would be essential to enhance the customer journey. Technical integration limitations. So we have experienced issues with integration with My Council Services system, for example, Mayrise, the highways system. There's not a great level of integration in that. I know that's a side project looking into replacing it. So that is an issue. Increased demands for the My Council Services team. I think once we've started going into different departments and showing them what's the capabilities of the My Council Services system, they're actually really keen to embrace the system and for us to do more work than we have capacity to do so at the moment, which is, it's good that they want us to get involved. It's a shame that we can't physically help them at the moment. And we are aware that this website development going on, there's an improvement team as well. So we want to focus on strengthening our collaboration with the website, with the digital team, with comms, to make sure that we're all on the web page and that we're moving in the same direction. I also wanted to mention digital as well. So the inclusion challenges that we have. I know last week the Older People's Commissioner for Wales produced a report about digital ageism. And we really, as a project team, we really keep that in the back of our mind that, yes, moving towards digital age is, you know, for the majority of the population is something that can be done. There are still people who aren't capable of using digital systems, don't have access to it. And that's not just the public, that's staff as well. I think that's important to realise that there are members of staff who may need a little more support with digital training, that sort of thing.
Sorry, I just jump in there as well. So I think what we found is we're going into service areas. You know, local authorities are incredibly. I don't think unless you work in or operate within a local authority, you understand the complexities of the services. You would never design anything that looked like. So I think what the team find is they go into services actually in order to get to the point where you can make the changes you want to the experiences to customers. There are all range of things. Some of that can be left for services. That's bigger. So what we're trying to do at the moment, and I suppose one of our learning from this is for a website development project, we've got a business process review project, and for a digital project forward. And actually, what we need to do is bring all this stuff together. So actually, this is the entirety of that spectrum. So working through that. And I suppose the other bit I said, because I've said it in numerous scrutiny committees, but I'll say it again now, that the digital inclusion bit is really, really important. More streamlined we can make these systems and processes, the easier we can make for the majority of people to deliver, to access those services digitally. More resource we have left for those people who can't, and for those people who are more complex. We've got more complex issues and need more. Yeah. All right. So this is not about preventing people from accessing services. It's about ensuring we're delivering the right services to the right people in the most efficient way.
Yeah.
And so finally, our future priorities. So we're looking at some things. Resourcing. We have put business cases with them together to secure additional staffing. We have increased digital capacity is needed to meet the growing service demands as well. And we would like an extension to the timeline, and I think that timeline is currently under review. Another priority is process and integration. So we're continuing to work with different service areas and the systems that they use. We want to expand the use of My Council Services integration and streamline that customer-facing process. And we want to strengthen that alignment with digital and web initiatives and the BPI project that Lisa mentioned as well, to make it more seamless service delivery. People and culture. We are going to develop and implement a customer contact charter and the supporting policy, which we have started work on. We want to launch the mandatory customer service training for all staff and employees. And we've already had meetings with human resources about the new e-learning system that has been launched this week, to make better use of that for corporate customer services. We want to ensure that customer service is a priority for all service areas and all departments within the council, not just focus on customer services department, which I know Paige has touched on already. We want to regularly report performance data to hold departments accountable for the timely manner in which they respond, how they respond, and for that to continue. And just to continue to foster a culture of continuous improvement and accountability. So we want them to embrace what we are telling them or advising them, and to run with it as well, and to not let it go beyond the wayside. And finally, technology and data, just enhanced reporting and visibility of income and contact, and maybe invest in digital skills and training and continuous improvement down that route as well. So that's the end. So we're open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks both Paige and Rhiannon. That's a really useful update on the sort of progress that you've made today for the project, which I know that you know, the committee has been heavily involved in, really, because you know, some of this came out of some of the sort of questions around the service reviews and recommendations that the committee originally sort of encouraged us to sort of deep dive and have a look into some of this stuff. And it's really pleasing to see the work that's sort of ongoing, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions and interaction from the committee. So unless anybody else wants to add anything now, I'll open it up to the committee for questions. That's okay. Okay, any questions from the committee?
I think they've worked really hard. Well done to all the team. The only question I was going to have, if two of you were on sick and then the other two go off on leave, what happens to your team, basically?
Thankfully,
That hasn't
yeah,
we don't anticipate that happening either.
I know. So you do need to.
yeah. So we've I think
Yes.
since the first absence, we learned from that massively, and we've implemented a lot of contingencies in the background. So even a lot of things such as having to do this, everything we do is recorded, so that you know, if someone does need to come in and pick that up, we've got everything.
And also with our customer services background as well, we're used to only having a certain amount of people off at any one time. We couldn't have everyone off the phones, so we're used to that way of working anyway. So we would both not take time off. We were OTAs, so
But anyway, well done to all your team.
Surveys completed, you said, were 483. So what percentage of the contacts that you had in that period was that?
it's low. The take of the surveys at the moment is low, but we have only just introduced it. And there are people who start the surveys and then hang up halfway through. But it is a very short survey, only 4 questions, really simple to answer. And at the end, they have kind of a time to maybe make suggestions. But it is, the pickup is kind of rising month by month. So, yeah.
Is that a stay on the call job? Then you finish the call and you stay on and answer the questions.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Some organisations use a follow-up text with that because people still want to get off the call, particularly if you've been on in a while. Is that something that we've also sort of looked at?
We haven't really had any involvement with the contact centre for 10 months, so we don't know the ins and outs of this new telephony system, and because it's only just been recently introduced. But that is something that we can take back and find out and come back to you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the committee? We've got Councillor Bright with a hand up.
Diolch, Chair, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Very good detailed report there, and very nicely set out, clearly to follow. Just going, when you look at the emails, you say you have 93 out of 605 generic inboxes, of which 93 were deemed inactive. So you've closed 47 of them. So what's going to happen to the other 46? Are they just going to be just floating around the Ethernet? And second one, just picking up on previously talking about the contact center. Yeah, it should be noted that 4.2 out of 5 is a really, really good positive result for those people that, in relation to the contact center, really.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question in terms of the email addresses. So out of those 93, the 47 that have been closed down, we had responses quite quickly from those. So even though we can kind of see they're inactive, we have to liaise with a number of different parties to double check before we close them in case there's any sort of historic information they need from those inboxes. There are also a number of them that we're going to try and kind of repurpose. So departments have come back to us and said actually they are inactive, but they want to reuse it for another reason, which again we're kind of very closely monitoring to make sure there's actually a good reason for having that. And we seem to think that as we go through each area, that seems to be a recurring theme, isn't it? So we'll continue to monitor those.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Bright.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
No problem. Councillor Linton.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's a question. Within your, thank you. It was a very good report as well, and it's well set out. I'm looking at your objectives, and it says ensuring a consistent and standard approach to members' contact. What do you mean by that? What is the approach? What's the consistency that each one of us has got? Because, for instance, via 656, if I got a complaint and I got a report that I come through the line, I'm in queues with other residents. So what is your consistency for all members? Have we got a dedicated line you're going to set up that members can have priority or not? What is the process?
I think the process will come following the survey results. I think we need to have more of a conversation and involve members in those discussions before we kind of decide on that. I think at the moment with members' contact, obviously we've got the member citizen inbox for contact, but there are obviously other methods as well. And we just want to ensure that, I suppose, it is consistent for everyone, and also to make it more efficient for you as members to get responses. Okay, I've got one email address, or I've got this system to log in, and there's not a different process for every single department. So that's kind of what we're working towards, but we're not quite there yet, are we?
I think that's the objective, isn't it? And you haven't quite got there yet, but that's what you're looking to achieve, and how you get there will be informed by the sort of progress and the work you do. So I think that's fair. Is that okay, Councillor Linton? Happy with that?
Yes, yeah. It's just also I've just been on, when I reported a fly tipping incident, and I've gone through all the process, but it didn't say where on the app for downloading photos. I just wondering, is that there? Because you do mention that there is a space for downloading photo evidence. I was just wondering, is there a glitch on the app, or is it me not being able to use it correctly?
As far as I'm aware, there should be. We're not aware of a glitch, but we will take that back, Councillor, and have a look at that for you.
Also, just as a reminder for that, once you send in, like I did, I didn't get a response back to say it's actually being received. If you can put that as well, I don't know what the process is.
Yeah, we'll take that back, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Linton. Councillor Screen.
Diolch, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just picked up on the challenges. It looks like there's some resource issues there, human resource issues, high levels of staff absence, limited team capacity, workload complexity. Is that a result of financial constraints, or is there other reasons for those? Staff absences, is that a result of the labour market, or is it a result of financial pressures?
No, I think that this without getting into the details, we've had a series of unfortunate events within a small team, which we you know, Adrian and Rhiannon have managed incredibly well. So it isn't because any other issues, it's just a happenstance. I think the resources overall, we went in with an ask for resources originally, which was granted based on the original expectation of a pace in which we're going to be able to get through this work over that period of time. And we've got a workshop, and I will say, not because he sat at the end of the table, the lead has been really, really clear with us consistently that whatever resources we require, we can have for this project, because it is a priority to get right. What we're trying to do, though, is have a holistic view of it, because actually putting some additional resources with Rhiannon and Paige is great, but we also need to deal with some of the digital challenges. We've got some of these legacy systems that need to be updated, and also we've got some, you know, there's been a lot of improvement on the website, but we need to finalise that piece of work as well. So what we're trying to do is bring all of that together. So actually we come with an ask for resource, then we'll cover all of those things.
Makes sense. Any other?
Yeah, questions? Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the members?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Pym.
Thank you. Congratulations on the presentation and report. Along the same lines as Councillor Screen on the finances, the original budget was £320,000. With the project now overrunning, how much more money do you anticipate needing to finish it?
Yeah, so we've there's various options here, but another two posts and extending the project until March 27, which was outlined, would be, and to increase the scope to include social services and waste savers, would be a further 230,000. So as we said, we are trying to now join this up with the digital stuff, and therefore the ask will be a combined ask. So I would anticipate that to be a different figure when we've done that work. But
Lower? A lower figure?
no, of course not.
As a joke.
So, but as a customer services project, that is where we're at the moment.
Okay, thanks for that. Just a follow-up question for the leader then. Has he agreed to this £230,000? Is it available?
So
That's my question.
yeah, we are just finalising yes at this point. So we're not at the point of going to the leader and cabinet to say this is it first. We've got a workshop this week with the digital team, and we'll get our heads together as to how we can maximise the synergies around all this. Then we'll be in a position to know what the ask is, and then we'll have a look to see where that can be and allocated. I think
To answer your question, Alex, I've just heard the figure myself.
For the first time. I think it's a very important project, so any additional funding, I think we need to okay it.
Back to your point about that pitch being holistic, taking account of everything.
Yeah. We've not pitched anything. That was the first time we this year. We've not pitched any figures. So it is pointless us having additional resources in this side of it if we don't upgrade pay rise.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
And you said it's now to include two different departments as well, which if we'd have to come back to them at a later date would possibly cost more.
Yeah, we've suffered with some unfortunate, staffing issues, which has hit the timetable. But also the project has been a success in the sense of services are wanting more, and also we are finding more that needs to be fixed, and therefore you need to get into the project to be able to know that we're into the project. It's what we've found out, and that's why we're kind of just taking stock of that, including this kind of more holistic approach with our digital colleagues as well.
I just add to that? I think Page might comment on this. I think there's two bits. They are more things that we need to fix. However, I think the team have also found more things that they can have a positive impact on. So I think it's, you know, it isn't necessarily not working, but actually they could be done better. I think that's also taken time.
And what's going through our minds as well, also about sustaining this now, because obviously this work needs to be sustained going forward. These forms, these processes will further be problematic unless we fix them now, but then we have something in place that keeps them up to date and as effective as they can be. So we are starting to get our heads around what does that look like, you know, because there's no point in doing this now and then, you know, just diverging in the fashion. We need to just keep it tight then.
Any other questions from any other councillors? Could I run through some questions?
Yeah, sorry, I had my hand up. I don't know if I'm
sorry. Yeah, go on.
On the other screen.
Yeah, sorry,
obviously, this is projects like this are usually about cost saving, making things much more efficient. What is, just two questions really. What is the outlook for a reduction in personnel is the first question. And the second question, which kind of leads on from that, is if you're looking to bring in scope, employing more people, which is an additional ongoing cost, is that are they on short-term contracts or are they permanent contracts? The first question is there going to be a reduction in manpower off the back end of this? Question one. And then question two, the people you're looking to employ to help with this project, are they going to be short-term or full-term contracts?
Right, I'll do it the other way around. I'll answer the second question first. So these are posts related to the project, so they will be over the duration of that project. But whether they come from existing staff resources or not is another thing, but we need to work through that once we've got a resource allocation. I think the first question is more problematic, complex, not problematic. We're not doing this to reduce staffing resource. We've already got the lowest staff per head of population in Wales. All right, so we're not looking to do that. The reality is we will end up with more staff organisationally over the next 3 years than we've got today, I suspect. But more and more of that, the higher and higher percentage of that could be working in schools and social services and housing and community work rather than the other services we've got. So we've got to get as efficient as we possibly can at the rest of it. So it isn't, and you see the project scope, there's nothing in that that talks about reducing the numbers of staff we've got. We're pretty lean as it is. What we've just got to do is make it as efficient as possible. And the focus is on the customer experience. And I think the lead has been really clear about that within the resource allocations as well. And if it comes that actually we need additional resources into this, I suspect that would be something that we look to put in place. But because it is in no part of this, and we said we're doing this because we want to reduce resources. We want more of our staff dealing with more of the complex issues of our communities rather than dealing with things that can be done in a simple, streamlined way.
I can also answer that. It's a very good question, and with our population boom as well, even standing still in terms of staff is major efficiency. So we really need to, if we're not, we're already at 170,000 people and it's accelerating. So if we can minimize recruitment or keep it at standstill, that is a hell of an achievement in terms of still servicing more and more people who want more and more services, quite rightly, but us not adding to our teams just to deal with just the growth. So yes, it's about efficiency and customer experience, and the better experience and the more efficient it is, the less staff we are going to need vis-a-vis versus the whole population as a total.
Yeah, because obviously with every new staff member, we're talking about what, 45, 50 grand total cost. So we've got very severe budget restraints now, and then projecting that forward, I don't believe they're gonna get any easier next year or the year after. So It's just how we can fulfil all the requirements under difficult circumstances.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So I was really pleased with some of the comments you made, Paige, earlier in your presentation about how customer service is everybody's responsibility, because that's kind of where we started as a committee, wasn't it? Is we got to a place, I think, where it wasn't always everybody sort of, you know, an example might be there's kind of big moment or whatever that just thinks I empty bins, and their role isn't that. It's about serving the community and customer facing and customer experience. And so I'm really pleased that you kind of that you said that. How easy has it been to kind of get departments and teams on board with that? Because I would have thought that that's quite challenging.
Yeah, it has been with some areas. I think maybe because you're changing the culture, I suppose. And I think we saw from working in the contact centre a big shift following the pandemic. And I think that maybe the way we start to handle customer interactions changed a lot because of, I'm not saying because of working from home, because that's not the right way to say it, but because of the amount of changes we had in such a short period of time, services changed massively across the authority. So I think it's kind of going back to maybe that a little bit more. So, you know, they have been receptive, but it's been a bit of a culture change, I think, for them. And I think it will be moving forward, but we're hoping with things like customer service training and maybe, you know, introducing that every 2 years or however we decide to do it, it kind of just keeps it at the forefront of, you know, we are also here to serve the community, even if it's maybe a back office function that you don't see that customer, you've still got to provide that good level of service.
So as well as the work the team's doing with services, there's an overarching bit of work on this project which is really around training and developing those for everybody, either through induction or because their post is quite heavy on customer services. Secondly, it's about expectations, and that's where the charter comes in, so that everybody understands that we've all got a part to play in customer services. And then thirdly, it's about monitoring and reporting. At the moment, we monitor and report on the contact centre. Don't do enough reporting and monitoring on what's happening in service areas, because there is as much, if not more, contact in the service areas than there is in the contact centre. That's the organisational approach. But we don't report it and we don't monitor it. And actually, we need to start developing some appropriate measures to see how that's going, and for making sure that senior management are aware of that and that we can take action. So that suite of stuff there will hopefully reinforce the fact that it's everybody's business and it needs to be done as well as it can everywhere.
Okay, so you led me on to my next question, which was around the sort of expectations of the service standards, and that's something we picked up as a committee sort of very early on, really. I'm sure, and I think I'll repeat myself from a former committee. I'm sure when I first started as a councillor, there were on the website some customer service standards which said you'll get a response to an email within X amount of days, and you would get this within that, and I guess that's sort of the bit. I guess if you're making all these changes to services without all those standards, and then those standards say something different to the changes that you're saying. So, for example, you're looking at my council services and you're sort of automating the response after a certain amount of days or whatever that might be. If you haven't put the standards in yet, how do you know they're going to meet the future standards? So I would have expected that customer charter and standards to come first and not last.
That's an interesting question, isn't it? Because we've had the same debates with the project. So we have a draft customer charter, and we've had a conversation internally around when is it the best time to introduce that to the organisation. What's been clear to us is up to now, we're in the third service in. It's been too early because you've got a charter out there that actually the vast majority of the council hasn't yet been subjected to this customer services kind of journey. So it's a thing that you're just not ready to do. at some point, certainly when we get to the end of the project, but probably somewhere before that, we'll be having a conversation that says, when do we introduce it? Because we should be in a better place then. A, to understand what is to go into the charter, because again, it's early days. But also be a charter that has a bit of meaning then, because most of the council, if not all of it, will have been improved in this respect. So yeah, so we're having the same debate.
That says to me you're worried about publishing it because you're not currently meeting it. That's what I heard from that. And so I would say have something that you then aspire to.
No, it's not that at all. It's some services have far higher inquiries, questions, queries, and requests than others. And if you put a generic standard template out there, just say, well, each one have to hit that, or some hit that fine, just naturally. And some have, so that's probably a bit, some won't be able to. So it's about being realistic as well. So, you know, we want the standards to reflect reality, as well as, you know, or we could, the easiest thing in the world is to publish the standard straight away, the chart straight away. And then these guys speak to a service, the service like, with all the goodwill in the world, we are not going to hit that, even if we do all this and this. What's the point in that? That just demoralizes those teams. So it is a difficult balance, as Marian's pointed out. You know, there has been discussions, but it's felt, let's just understand our teams, understand those processes, understand their demands. So therefore the chart is more realistic in hitting those expectations that we all want.
So going back to the funding point, there's the 320,000 originally, and I know you sort of looked at some tentative figures around. So we've had some slippage on the project, which I'll come on my next question. So preempting that, might ask for about £250,000 from the leader or cabinet, or whoever's decision that is. To put that project back on the original timeline, how much would you be asking for? So we've lost sort of 7-8 months, but could we claw that back and still get to the original timeline by?
So we haven't lost the first 6 or 7 months of
the
project at all. We're in the third service area at the moment. Arguably, what for now is the largest one that we've got. The resource issues are hitting this particular sprint now.
Yeah,
we call these sprints. A service area is a sprint, and that third one is where it's taking us longer than was envisaged. The scope increase is the second reason. Yeah, why we need to. We were also finding that we were leaving each sprint in line with the timetable, but we were leaving a lot of work outstanding that had been identified as need to do. So these are things that you learn as you experience the project. So that is why we wanted that extended timeline. If we wanted to meet the next August's timeline, you need more resources. Clearly.
Yeah, and that was the point of how much, you know, is that another 50%?
I don't think we've actually done that previous work. We're currently on this two roles. Yeah. And we haven't done the work yet.
Before you do, I didn't mean to imply that you'd lost 6 months of nothing. That wasn't what I was saying. It was just that we've lost 6 months on the end date. So apologies.
I get that. I was just to jump in there. I think, you know, that extension is also because we've added stuff on the end. So I don't think the easiest answer to get back to the original timescale is, well, we want to do social services. And the reason we didn't have social services in the first place is it's very different. It doesn't deliver customer services in the way the rest of the organisation does. It's got very clear doorways into social services. So that would be one way. I think we've also got to remember what we've got here. You've got project resource here, and it needs to run at the same speed as the service area being run. So, you know, it's pointless as ploughing. We've had this conversation now on the project board. Pointless as ploughing more and more resources from the project team if actually the service areas can't keep up with that rate of change. And I think we also, because the sprint is just project methodology on a sprint basis, right? So we're operating on that basis. We made the decision to basically collapse that for environmental protection because it's such a big service area. It's going to be because of the complexity of founding infrastructure, particularly. We knew what we were going to find there. It's going to take longer. That is regardless of the resource you use. So it's just going to take a long period of time to do it right.
You sort of preempted my next question, which was in terms of the kind of revised project timeline, then the sort of extra 6 or 7 months. How much of that is down to losing resource in the team due to sort of slippage compared to adding on extra sort of scope, and how much of it is down to not anticipating what you might find in each service area? Hard to tell. If you can't answer, that's fine.
It is. I'm just looking at this. Yeah, it is. It is difficult. It is difficult to tell. Environment. So by Christmas, in the original timescale, I think I can remember we did an environmental public protection and standards. I think that was original one.
Finance. Yeah.
So I think we probably bumped it on probably about 3 or 4 months on the basis of it's probably a mixture of the resourcing issue, but primarily you've got to get it more in depth with environmental public protection as a service area.
Yeah, and so your answer to the previous question sort of goes along. If you took out social services from that scope, you probably wouldn't roll back the whole 6 or 7
You've got
months.
1, 2, 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
Down there to do with social services. It would be.
So yeah, to be some of it, not all of it. Okay. One other question I had, which was the members contact screen work stream. So the members surveys, is that going to be a digital survey that you're going to send out to members, and have you looked at other ways of engaging members, and what role are the democratic services team playing in that review, because they deal with lots of those members inquiries?
So
the moment the questions have been created, haven't been put onto the format as such yet, and the discussions are still ongoing regarding the question format. So take that.
yeah, absolutely, and that'd be really interesting in the committee's feedback on that. So so Mike Warbank is leading on that piece of work as part of the project. I think there's one thing getting a series of questions. It's getting the way mechanism in which we get the answers, some proper dialogue around some of those areas. Because I think that is going to be an evolving piece of work as well.
That was going to be my follow-up point, really. I'm not sure just a digital survey is the best way to sort of capture that. So I'm interested what other members think on that. But just by phone survey, and you might not kind of, particularly if you're sort of very either cognitive or quantitative, are you going to get the answers you want, and that you might get that from a different way of engagement, perhaps. Yeah, but on both, that might be a starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as far as the project's concerned, I think it's a recognition of the unique role members play in that sort of interface between the council and the communities, and actually you need access to a range of data and information that is different to the members of the
Yeah, I was
really. So it's about how we build it.
But it's also like, it's not rocket science, right? Members want it quicker, so they can relay it back to their residents in a timely manner. I mean, I experienced this. People keep emailing, "Where are we with X question?" And you get it because we're copied in the same emails back. So we all want speed and accuracy. Speed and accuracy. But I take your point. I think we could do qualitative stuff. Definitely has a feel, the tone of it. Do you feel valued in your feedback? And I think some members value some further interaction. I could be wrong on that, but when they disagree with a point, I think there's a tension there, and certain members feel like they're being dismissed or ignored once they try to push the question to follow query. However, there are points when members have to realise that is the answer, and I think that would want a qualitative element of rather than a survey, just a pure quantitative survey, because we do have to tease that out a little bit, but members equally have to understand that it's sometimes a wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, also within this project, there's a point at which the customer contact improvement project ends, and then you go to the situation where we're talking about member officer protocols and actually, and how we understand the reports.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
because again, recognition members are in a unique position, but also recognition of an officer. Sometimes when they give that is the answer, when they give the answer. So,
and also just
how we
process, isn't it? So if that's the answer and the members are still unhappy, well, if it's within the controlling administration, they come to me or the cabinet member.
Yeah.
If it's yourself or other opposition members, you challenge me or the relevant I mean, that is the process.
Yeah,
yeah, of course. And it wasn't so much about that. I was sort of thinking, one of the things we've talked about, particularly with Tracy, if I can, is that members become a funnel for complaints. So if they don't get the answer that they want from the council, or they get frustrated with waiting on the phone or whatever, they come to the members. So I was really pleased you said about having frequently asked questions that you guys use in the customer service for members. So actually you can sometimes just give the answer because you don't need to go and ask someone, and that puts another sort of layer of sort of hurdles in the way to sort of get the answer. And I think that would be really welcome in terms of, and probably ties in with the dashboard point that you've been sort of mentioning for a while, hopefully as well. So I think that will all be good, but it's kind of understanding where that's just a complaint and an escalation versus an initial inquiry and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah,
and the role we play in fielding some of that stuff as well. So,
yeah, I mean, there is a lot of duplication that comes with member inquiries because they're often inquiring on behalf of the members of the public, which has already made a request for a service or information or something or other. And different members currently have different preferences. Some are very comfortable using MTS, some are not, and they prefer to make a phone call and speak to an officer, and everything in between. And we're just trying to make sense of all of that in a system which is really busy. This is really extensive, and we need to sort of have an efficient but effective way, which does recognise that members are in a special place. So that allows you to fulfil your role as a ward member, and we just need to recognise that. And I think your question is really good, because I think that it's a very nuanced thing. I think that we need to collect that information in a way that kind of respects that nuanced position that this question gives rise to, without it being something about individual issues.
Absolutely.
It needs to be something that helps the big process here. We're talking about the process here, not about I did this yesterday and this happened. Those things are, if it's an example of something, great, but we need to keep the conversation strategic.
There's a couple of the working groups we've had, the Norse working group we had, the recent Boundaries Commission working, they work really well, and something like that might be able to have an informed part to play in this potentially, as something to consider, and because that away from the individual sort of queries that you kind of get, that you want to think about the process in the big picture rather than sort of people bring their own individual sort of preferences and views to it. So and hence the objective about consistent and standardized, isn't it? So everybody's kind of doing it the same way rather than each person having I just want to do it this way or I want to do it that way. So I think that's
it's very well diverse at the moment.
I bet it is. Very diverse, that's the only sort of final one really. I thought your point about the metrics was excellent. 4.2 out of 5 is really, really good. 84%, whatever you want to call it. I think that's great. Will you be looking to sort of target those, and can we get the updates on our service plan updates going forward, so we could see those as metrics included in the report? And then will you sort of target them going forward? So you might actually say 4.2 might be above your target already, but some of the others you might say actually we want to try and move that from 72 to 75 or whatever. So,
as I said, the monitoring and reporting of performance is something that overrides this project. Sits on top of it. And that's a number of areas there, including that, are going to be considered. And it's a balance of keeping it objective enough as well.
Yeah,
But we certainly need to move away from the current very constrained contact centre PI phone call durations, which are better now. Yeah. Into something that encompasses the whole campus. Which is better. Yeah.
Okay. And my final point really is, I would just encourage the leaders, I'm sure he will, and as sort of part committed to here, not committed to, but said, he's on board with this, and you've said he's sort of offering up the resource to kind of continue to support this project. It's clearly making an impact. Something else residents really will feel the benefit from it soon. And it's great to see the commitment that's going into it, and hopefully that we continue to be supported.
Well, just to say, I was the cabinet member who started.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then when I became leader, I could have given it to another cabinet member, but I chose to keep it. And the reason why I chose to keep it is because this is critical to our residents. That's their number one. And it's also critical to my agenda about transformation and transparency. So there's no point transforming it if it doesn't make it better for our members or for our residents. What's the point? It's a pointless waste of time and money. So for me, this is one of the biggest pillars for transformation. And it also links into the systems, the data, and the rapid pace of change as well. The only thing I would say about the report is it doesn't mention that the younger generation, their whole lives are on the internet. The whole lives are online. And we do have to cater for those who feel digitally excluded, absolutely, and always at the forefront, as you rightly point out. But if we don't do this, and we're the fastest under 16 growth population in Wales, we are leaving the next generation behind that will feel the council's not for them. I don't want to be doing that. I suspect most members are with me, and we need to get this right. But to also say, I'm picking on Myers, but it is continuous, because the technology is changing. I'm on public records. We need to make this convenient and easy. WhatsApp or other providers where it's just easier, just to, everyone can WhatsApp, pretty much everything. And if we can make it so simple to interact with the council, it's all about convenience, isn't it, for everyone? You just interact with the council the easiest way, and it's all automated, so it eases our officers' pressure, so they can deal with the more complex stuff. It's the only way you're going to manage what is a rapidly growing city. This is one of my big agendas.
Yeah, no, I know that you've championed it. You've had a number of conversations on it here and the side as well. So I'm really pleased that that commitment's still there, and it sits with you as the sort of highest level of responsibility for it in terms of cabinet. So I think that's good to see, and hopefully shows the sort of the public that the council's committed to kind of those areas where perhaps we haven't been quite so good, that we're seeing now an improvement on, and that's our reputation in the way that we deliver services. So, yeah.
I'm hoping that the committee has seen the scale of this project. It's not the contact centre.
Absolutely.
It's in the organisation.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult, and that's really big. And we're taking the whole services through a lot of change.
Yeah,
with less than a handful of people.
Yeah.
So it's
and massive culture changes. You both alluded to in your presentations. Really, culture's the hardest thing to do, and it's kind of people get set into doing things a way, and to try and change the culture and the sort of attitude and everything else is such a difficult thing. So it's to be applauded in terms of the progress you've already made, in my view. So. Any other questions from any of the committee? Fantastic. Okay, I think we just need to wrap up some recommendations, I think, and everybody can go. That's all right.
Thank you very much. Just general comments from the committee. Pleased to see the work which has been completed by the team. The comments shared about the service, the part of the text that is staying on the line. Councillor Linton's comments just about the app, just so there's a bit stronger about some responses about the requests that we've received. Comment should please to see the FAQs for members, so if you give residents the answers, it's really welcome. Mentioned Chair about the working group, so about those electric committee work really well. It's like this to be able to help with the members' contract work stream. Yeah. Apart from those comments, was there any comments or recommendations the committee would like to make in relation to the report?
From my point of view, I think that the committee ought to recommend that Cabinet continue to support the needs of the project financially. That's what I think we should recommend, if everybody's happy with that.
I agree.
Everybody happy with that recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, mine too.
Fantastic. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Absolutely fine. Okay, thanks everybody. Item 4 on the agenda, the Scrutiny Advisors Report. We did run through that in a pre-meet, and Neil kindly gave an update on the actions that are arising from previous matters. There's nothing to pick up on the forward work programme. Our next meeting is for the biannual service reviews starting in December.
That'll be on the 24th of November. Chair, that'll be the Corporate Directorate Service Plan Mid-Year Reviews. Mr. Chair advisor, most of the actions and outcomes are completed. There's just a couple which are outstanding, which are chased up for the committee.
Fantastic. So that leaves us on to item 5, minutes of the previous meeting. Everybody happy with them? Is there anything that to read? Was that a yes? You're happy with them? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
happy.
sure,
Yes.
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
Fantastic. Meetings are all approved. So we'll see you all on the 24th of November.
Lovely.